Hi there, this is Mark Edelman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome to this blog for the teaching of talking. And if you remember, our last blog was about memory. It was about remembering. It was about remembering names. It was about remembering words, single words, phrases, or sentences. And we compared the discipline of remembering names to the discipline of learning to speak all over again. And it requires, of course, as a review right now, that we hold speaking or remembering to be something very, very, very important. If we hold something that's very, very important, chances are we'll do it and we'll remember it. However, if we're kind of lackadaisical about it, or if we're kind of on the fence about it, or if we're kind of ho-hum about it, guess what? Don't expect results. Just don't expect results. You know, I've worked with thousands and thousands of people for the last over 40 years, working with patients who have speaking difficulties, and I've found indubitably that those who really hold speaking as important, and their caregivers or their parents or their loved ones, if they all believe that it's important, then chances are the progress is forthcoming. However, I've seen, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with, people who just aren't all that motivated for whatever reason, and guess what? Their results are not very exceptional, unfortunately. So this particular visit is about remembering names. Now, I'm going to review a couple of strategies with you because learning how to speak and remembering words is not all that much different. There's a method, there's a discipline, and we write about that in our book called The Teaching of Talking. When you walk into a room or when you walk into the communication situation, just make sure that you really want to remember a name and that you're going to put off out of your mind any other thought other than that you are going to meet this person and you're going to find out their name. Now, you're going to be there because you want to develop friendships or relationships, and one of the ways you're going to do that is by remembering the name. So, if you do that, you walk into a situation, you extend your hand, and you say, "Hi, I'm Mark Edelman. What's your name?" Just like that. And they'll say, "Well, my name is Susie Cream Cheese," let's say. And what you want to do right now is you want to use that name at least 4 or 5 times in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the interactions. So you might say, "Well, I'm so glad to meet you, Susie Cream Cheese. Wow, this is a nice affair, isn't it?" "Well, yeah, it sure is. Now, Susie Cream Cheese, where are you from?" Or, "Where are you from, Susie Cream Cheese?" Or you might say, "Well, Susie Cream Cheese, what kind of work do you do?" Or, "Susie Cream Cheese, are you married? Do you have any children?" "Oh, you have children. Well, Susie Cream Cheese, please let me know how many children you have," or, what they're up to. But what you want to do is you want to use that person's name, either just their first name or both their first and their last name, in the conversation within the first 2 minutes of the conversation. You want to do that. Now, most people love to hear their name spoken. I love it, and probably many of you do. Every time I hear my name spoken, wow, it's like a pat on the back. So that when you are speaking with someone and using their name, not only are you repeating their name, which helps in memory, but you're also sort of petting them. You're also sort of patting them on the back, and you're doing something that pleases the other person, and deep down inside the other person is going to go, "Well, I sure do like this person." Now, What's happened to me a couple of times, and what may happen to you, is you may be in a social situation, okay, and you're going along just fine, and you're in a conversation with them. Maybe somebody else comes into the conversation, so that now there are 3 people in the conversation, and you want to do the same thing with the other person who's just joined the conversation. You want to run through the same thing. You want to ask their name. Make sure you hear their name, and make sure you repeat their name clearly a few times within the first few minutes of the conversation. Now, many people, when they tell you their names, they might say it very quickly, or they might say it not very clearly. So you might want to say, I didn't catch that. Would you please tell me your name again? And just do it like that. And that way, you're going to be letting them know that you consider them important, and you consider their name important to you, and they will like you even more because of it. Now, so what may happen, you may be in this conversation with these 2 other people, okay? And that one person may go off and somewhere, and now you're back with the first person that you started the conversation with. But if you ever used a person's name in the conversation, and then a couple of minutes later, my goodness, the name escapes you. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, you thought you'd learned their name, you thought you used their name a number of times, and gosh, you thought it stuck, but guess what? It's not there when you go for it. And that's what happens with memory sometimes. It escapes us. And don't worry about it. The most important thing to do then is to say, you know something? I forgot your name. Would you mind telling me your name again, please? And she may go, well, my name's Susie Cream Cheese. And you go, oh yeah, it's Susie Cream Cheese. How could I be that way? Well, that sometimes happens, Susie. Sometimes it may take me a while to get a person's name down, Susie, but after a number of times, I usually get it, and I never forget. But I'll never say never. So it's been great meeting you, Miss Susie Cream Cheese, and I hope we meet each other again. Now, in the other video, I also said to you to pick out a feature about that person and put onto that feature something that will help you remember their name. So if a person's like Susie Cream Cheese, I'd put a nice big piece of cream cheese on that particular feature in my imagination. And I'd also want to remember Susie. And so you want to think for a minute, how am I going to remember Susie Cream Cheese? Well, if it were me, I'd think, well, I used to know a great song called Susie Q. So I'm going to put like a Susie Q cream cheese on that feature of that person so that I'll always remember that, so that when I see her again later or tomorrow or next week or a month from now, I'll remember Susie Cream Cheese. But you know, one of the things you'll really find out is that if you really hold in your mind that it's really important to know that person's name, chances are you may be surprised that you may just remember it anyway with very little thought or forethought whatsoever. But those are a couple of suggestions for how to remember a name. And we do the same kinds of things in therapy with people when we want to teach them a single word to remember, or a phrase, or a sentence. There's lots of different ways, and we write about them in the Teaching of Talking. So, I would like to thank you very much for stopping by and sharing with us this blog about remembering words and remembering names. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and if you'd like to find out some information about our book, The Teaching of Talking, or about Teaching of Talking video training, just click the link below. And thank you, and have a great day.